class trip had been arranged, and we were going to do filming for a Young David production in Texas in March. And he was pleased to tell us that because the previous year some of the students had struggled to raise the necessary funds for their trip, that they had put up the tutorage so that we could not, it would be included in our fees and we wouldn't have to raise funds. He said we would be flying to Texas, that they would arrange accommodation for us for a week, we would do filming, and it was going to be a great experience and hands-on practice. So we were suitably excited, and a few days later the director came in, and obviously not having heard that this had already been discussed in class, she stood up and explained to us that we were going on a Texas trip, that we were going to film Young David production, and that we were going to be traveling by car because flying was too expensive, and that each one of our students was going to have to raise £500 for the costs of the trip. Dollars. Sorry, dollars. And a few days prior to this, I had overheard two of the staff members very distressed, saying that the class funds that were due to go towards our school trip had been used elsewhere on equipment that the staff member had been told to buy by the director, and that meant the class funds were down and we didn't have funds for the trip that had been promised us. So when our director stood up and told me that, I put two and two together and I realized. I waited to see if the class coordinator would speak to her and say what he had already told the class. I waited to see if any of the students would have the courage to speak up at that point and say anything. And nobody did. None of the staff and none of the students. Everybody was too terrified to address the elephant in the room. So I sent an email that evening, and in a very forthright way said that I had overheard the conversation about the class funds having been used on equipment, and I felt that we were now being exploited to compensate for some financial irregularities that were not our fault, and I didn't think it was fair, and perhaps there was a better way of doing this. And I wasn't the only one who had overheard this conversation, furthermore, and also the whole class had already been told that it had been included in our fees, so this was going to be a problem to explain going forward. I received a very formal email denying pretty much everything, but not explaining anything at all. And nobody from that day on explained anything to the class as far as what had actually happened, except that the class coordinator and the director had a meeting after school. When I tried to contact the class coordinator to chat to him about this, because he was quite upset and very anxious, he said that he and his wife had put over $1,000 of their tithing money towards the school trip because of his mistake. And when I was shocked and objected to this, he got very distressed and said he was just trying to keep his job. The director then got up in front of the class the next day and told us that there had been a change in plan, that we were going to be flying after all, and it was going to be great, it was going to be a good experience, and we only had to raise $250 each, but not to worry. The class was going to get a video done to put on Facebook, where we could ask all our Facebook followers and friends and family to help us raise funds for our class trip, which was now called a mission trip. and so that we could go and do this filming. And not only that, but she would make her products from her own company available to us at a discounted price so that we could sell them, and in that way make money to go towards our collecting our fees. I chose not to do the Facebook video, but everyone else in the class did it and duly raised their funds. Christopher kindly paid mine and my son Tim, who was allowed to come on the trip, to our funds to go to Texas. If any of you remember, the Texas trip took place in what you might remember, the Great Freeze of Texas, which was in March 2021. And I will discuss more of what happened on that trip in my next video. Thank you.